All right. Yup. Here we are at yet another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter, my protege.
Yeah. Good morning, Bill, my deal maker.
Episode number 449. That's where we're at. 449.
Unbelievable.
And today's episode is titled Revealed: Why Rookies Keep Losing Creative Real Estate Deals. Here is the description. In this week's In this week's bombshell episode, we are going to expose the silent wealth killer that's forcing rookies to walk away from deals that could have changed their financial future forever. After listening today, you will soon realize that most rookies are literally one conversation away from getting sellers to say yes to their proposed offer or offers given, but instead are making critical mistakes that actually repel deals without even knowing it. In fact, this strategy isn't new or even complicated, but it's being completely overlooked by 99% of all offers given to sellers. Learn what the deal trigger is and why it is so important to see it and to use it for every transaction. What makes this episode particularly powerful is how we not only explain every detail to you to know, but also the step-by-step process you need to start closing more deals in less time and effort. This single 60 minutes could be the most powerful framework for closing deals to date. This exact methodology is what helped Bill, aka me, and my private coaching clients to execute hundreds of deals. And no, I've never talked about any of this before. Well, I have, but I have a new take on it. So some new things in my software over here. I don't know what they are. Huh. Interesting. All right, so let's do some housekeeping, Peter. Are you ready?
Ready to go.
You seem awful quiet about my description today. What do you think?
Hey, folks, do you ever think the speaker's talking directly to you? So I'm not saying a word today. I'm just going to listen.
Housekeeping. So please subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Make sure you like us. If you want to do a 5-star review and take a snapshot of it and send it to Flipping Houses for Rookies, I will send you hundreds of dollars worth of stuff you can use in your career that we sell it today. I still sell it online. Also, I have released, as of just 4 or 5 days ago, my first edition of the new Creative Real Estate Dealology newsletter. Dealology is study of the deal. So it's a weekly episode that's for free. If you go into the description of this podcast, there is a link there. Or you could just go to creativerealestatedealology.com and you can get it there. It is a free episode. Like I said, it's a free weekly delivered on Saturday mornings, a free newsletter that is just about creative real estate deal structuring. It's all the good stuff. So that's where you're going to want to go. Okay?
Cool. That's awesome because you've been working on that. You've wanted to do this for quite a while. Good for you to get it in there.
Yeah, and I finished my book. So there is a book now. The name of the book is, let me go get it. I've changed it like 5 times. That's why I have to go look. So Get Paid to Learn Extraordinary Creative Real Estate Deals Guaranteed.
Well, I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, get paid to learn extraordinary creative real estate deals guaranteed. And that's the new book, which is all the procedures, which is mostly the 6 stages. And I break them all down and show you how you can go from literally not knowing anything to creative real estate to actually building a team and being very wealthy. You won't do that in a month, but all the steps are there. All right, so enough of the housekeeping stuff. So make sure you go get the newsletter. That's the big thing. And make sure you like us and subscribe to us. All right, Pete, here we go. Time for the podcast.
Okie doke.
Let me start today with this. To be effective in creative real estate, you have to believe in human beings. You have to have a positive outlook about people. Now, I have said for many, 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 many years, which is very true, all sellers are liars. All buyers are liars, right? So I say that not in a derogatory manner. It's just that people just hear things and say things, but they don't really investigate.
Yeah.
Right. Like my house is worth, $400,000, and you're on Zillow and it says it's worth $300,000. So
yeah, I did that yesterday.
Yeah.
I called one of our sales that didn't go through, and it's still sitting there. And he's telling me, well, all the houses on the street sold for 100, and he's trying to get 80. I said, so why didn't yours sell for 80?
Right.
And I was pretty mean about it. It was fun. Like, so why didn't you sell for 80? What are you talking about? Are the buyers wrong? It didn't sell. Something's wrong. Anyway.
Yeah, so you can't make the guy wrong. You got to believe in human beings. He's just being himself. He's being trained from his environment and what he thinks and his background and his history. He's just trying to do something. You just gotta look past that, right? You have to believe people are naturally good, right? And sellers or buyers, if you're going the other way, are just like you. That's what you have to realize. They're just like you. Most spend money they don't usually have and need payments because they're spending more than what they normally would be able to spend, and they need payments.
Yeah.
They often go over budget for what they want, not for what they need. Want is a big part of that. And most important, they work hard for their money and want to make good decisions and feel good about those decisions once they have made them. So the reason why you're having so much trouble with your seller is they want to make a good decision, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Peter, let me ask you something kind of stupid. So suppose you and I were to get in a car today, and I were to take you up to the electrical plant, where they make electricity.
Yeah.
And I bring you into where the turbines are, and I say, Peter, I need you to maintain these things. Can you have it done by tomorrow? What's going to happen?
Well, that would be a dead no, because I don't know anything about turbines.
All right, and not picking on you, but what if I said to you, you said to me, Bill, my car didn't start this morning. And I said to you, okay, well, did you check the starter? And you're like, what do you mean?
I've made it to the alternator, but I haven't gone past alternator. So that would be another no. Not my deal.
You see what I mean? So this is what it's like. Now, I owned an auto repair facility for 27 years. I started fixing cars when I was 9 years old, 10 years old, my own man. Right? So to me, that just seems like very common knowledge. Like everybody should know what a starter is.
Sure.
Right? So this is the relationship you have with your seller. See, you're here listening to me right now, and you're studying creative real estate, especially you, Peter. You've been at it for 8 years, right? And you're constantly here. You're here every week, right? We have coaching. You're on the coaching calls every week, and we talk in between. You're constantly learning, right?
A lot of data.
So you're way smarter than the seller. So you have to dumb it down when you're talking to them, first of all. You have to guide them, just like I would guide you to like showing you where the starter is on your car.
Right.
right?
Mhm. Well, you have to speak at their level. I mean, one of the things with communicating to anybody, you don't talk at your level. You talk to them at their level. So you have to really pay attention.
Right. All right. So what I'm going to say next is actually a podcast within itself.
Mm.
And I'm not gonna skim over it, but I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it.
Okay.
So you have to understand. You have to understand this concept. If you do not understand this concept, you will never ever figure this out. Okay, here's the concept.
Okay.
That money is made to be used, not possessed. Money's an energy. It moves. It wants to move. It has to have a purpose and a place to go. Like, you ever put money in a savings account just to put it in a savings account? Well, I had some extra money, so I put it over there. I got $5,000 back from my taxes by surprise. I'll
Yeah.
just put it over there and just leave it there, right?
Mm.
And if it doesn't have a purpose, and if it doesn't have a reason for it to be there, all of a sudden, son of a gun, the car breaks, the furnace breaks, right? And you use $4,500 of that money.
Yep.
Like, I could never save money.
Mhm.
No, it's because you didn't give that money a purpose. Like, you could even name it like, that's my reserve account in case I have trouble paying my rent,
Makes sense.
or I'm saving that money for a vacation,
Hmm.
right? The point is that money is transient. It moves, right? It's made to be used. It is this is the way I think of money. It's like well, it's not, this is not exactly, just to illustrate it. Like, I take my grandson to the amusement park, right? Or my granddaughter to the amusement park. And there's that little choo-choo train that goes around the outside of the park. You ever been there?
Oh, sure. Well,
Right?
I've been to a few parks. Yeah, they got trains.
Yeah. They got these choo-choo trains that usually go around the outside of the park, right? So I'm talking about lake compounds. It goes around the lake, right?
Yeah.
That train is my money. It allows me to sit with my grandchildren and look at the sights and have a pleasure moment. The money didn't give me the pleasure moment. The money gave me the opportunity to drive around the lake and be with my grandkids and create a pleasure moment in my mind.
Right.
The money was not the happiness. The money was not the end result. The money was not the valuable final product. The money was not the unique selling proposition. The money was not any of that stuff. The money was just the vehicle to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I have partners that have Lamborghinis because they have a lot of money. And they think that they should make commercials showing off their Lamborghinis, which is good for a certain type of clientele. But the truth of the matter is so what? You got a Lamborghini. You could have rented it. You're in front of this mansion of a house. You could have rented that too. You could have spent $10,000 to rent the car and the house for the day.
You could have just driven by when no one was home, stood in front, and took a picture.
This is true.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I do.
So the money, so basically the Lamborghini and the big house is an ego status for these people.
Mm-hmm.
The money isn't the thing. Okay, and I'm going to come back to this in a little while. Okay, so which means, now listen to me, because this is important. I am being very profound today, Peter, because this podcast is for you, and if somebody else wants to listen to it, then they get a lot out of it. This is for you. Okay, which means your conversation, when it gets to money with your seller, gets quite funny. It gets odd. No, I love my wife to death, man. I have no idea why. I argue with her, and we do things, and sometimes we go a day or two and we just stay in our own corners. Sometimes we're all over one another, but I'm just crazy about her. I don't know what it's going to be like without her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But man, and she is a smart lady. Especially at certain things. She's really smart. She's a consultant, and she helps people make $1 million businesses. But man, when it comes to money, she is dumb as a rock. She is horrible with money.
Really?
Horrible with money.
Hmm.
It's this complete black hole to her, right? But yet she makes people millionaires.
That's
So
crazy.
this is how it started for me, because it's like, if she could do that and she knows nothing about money, being a millionaire has nothing to do with having money.
Wow. That's
Right?
crazy.
I just bought a new book. Right? And I was reading it this morning. In the back of the book, the first on the back of the book, right? On the very back of the book,
Yeah.
right? The back cover. You want to see the name of the book?
Good. Miracle Morning.
Yeah. Anyway, so the first sentence says, millionaires know everything in your present is a result of how you thought, decided, and acted in the past. So is it about the money?
None of that
No,
said money.
It didn't say it about the money. So I'll read it to you again. Millionaires know everything in your present is a result of how you thought, decided, and acted in the past. Your present circumstances can change right now. So money's in the head. Money is backed by confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Money is a thing that if I were to buy eggs from you, and you, instead of trading you like say milk, a quart of milk, because you have an egg farm and I have a milk farm.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of trading milk for your eggs, I'm going to give you money. And the reason I'm going to give you money is because you have confidence that you can go in town and you can buy beer.
Yeah.
Right? That's what money is.
Mm-hmm.
So money has nothing to do with this. That's what I'm trying to say. And people get funny when they talk about money. I mean, there's two things that you could talk to somebody out about and you could get the most craziest stories. And that's money and sex. Right?
Figured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So if you stick with me, I will explain this concept of why people buy $4 coffees and $2 bottles of water. Right? It's not about the money.
Mm.
And oh yeah, by the way, $4 coffee. I don't go into Starbucks. My wife will not ask me to go to Starbucks anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have boycotted Starbucks, because she sends me in there and it costs me almost $6 to buy her coffee. And it's 2 shots of coffee and this and that. I have to have a list. I have her text it to me, and then I go inside and I show the phone to the person.
You just show it to them. Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have this thing called a coffee maker.
Money's a mental issue.
Yeah.
It's not a shortage issue. Money is a mental issue. That's a Grant Cardone saying. Money is a mental issue, not a shortage issue. Realize that first. To hit the right button in your deals, you have to realize you're in the people business and have to like people. You're not in the real estate business or the money business. I have so much trouble with this because what I stopped doing, and it's probably killed my business, is we used to do live seminars, right? Once a month, we would do a live meetup.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember when you first came aboard, I would start the meetup with deal structuring.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember after a while, a couple months, you said to me, Bill, I don't understand. Why do you start in the middle?
Yeah.
Why do you do that?
We don't have a deal. Why we buy them structuring the deal? I don't even have a guy to talk to. Why would you start in the middle? Yeah, that was a question.
Right. So my answer to you was because you have to be, I had to get your attention. I had to show you that it was different than just regular real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I had to show you how this is. Now, here's the downfall to what I was doing.
Yeah.
Is my students would believe that every deal was a deal.
Every deal was just the transaction,
The math.
like the math. Like
Right.
if I do this and it fits the financial shoe, the seller will say yes because it's financially sound, and
Right.
that's
So
not true.
there is not a deal on the market, even if the house is $50,000 overpriced, that I can't structure a deal.
Mhm.
And I said for a very long time on this podcast, I said for a very long time, I'll buy your house for whatever price you want as long as I get to pick the terms.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a big thing for me for a while. Right. So my point is this: it's not the money. What happens is you have to have. And I went looking for it the other day. I couldn't find it. There was actually a formula I talked about, and I don't remember what else, but I think it was the math plus the need equals a deal, or the math plus what a seller wanted equals a deal, or the math plus the willingness
Yeah.
equals a deal.
We talked about a couple months ago something like the math and the emotional desire.
That's right. That's what it was.
Remember that? The emotional desire.
Yeah. So it was the math plus the very good, Pete. Yeah, because those were your
Yeah.
words.
Yeah.
The math plus the emotional desire equal the deal.
Yeah, it's both. It's not just the desire. It's like the emotional desire. It's not just the emotion.
It's
It's
what they
both
want,
together.
not what they need.
Right.
See, the math is what they need.
Mhm.
Right. So you have to hit the right button to make those deals. And that's why it seems like it's impossible, because there are so many emotions and so many different types of ways people can think, sanely and insanely. There's bazillions of thoughts, right?
Mhm.
So here's another big lie. And I'm going to get to stuff here in a few minutes, right? Here's another big lie. You need to strip yourself of immediately. All right. Sellers do not care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mhm.
Sellers do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. This is the reason why I tell people, rookies, to get on the phone. If you just care about somebody and you're just sincere, it doesn't matter how much you know. But somebody like me, I get on the phone and I have all this knowledge because I lost track at 4,300 face to face in a house, nose to nose, belly to belly. And that was like, I don't know, 8 years ago. So I've done probably 5,000 or 7,000 offers. I don't know, a lot.
Yeah.
So I know something. I got it. But that means nothing until I show them I care first. So what most rookies miss is that it's a human transaction. It's not a money mathematical thing that they're trying to solve. It's a human emotion they're trying to satisfy. Like when you piss off your girlfriend, you have to satisfy that human emotion. Otherwise, you're done. You're out. You have to figure out how to make up for it because of something you said or something you did that was stupid.
Mhm.
Right? What's important to the seller? What's important to the seller? What's important to the seller? How many times do you ask that in the conversation while talking to a seller? What's important to the seller?
Mhm.
What's an ideal scene for them? What is their ideal scene? Why are they doing this? Right? What are they actually trying to accomplish with this house transaction? These are questions that should be going through your mind while you're talking to somebody, and we don't do this.
That last thing you said, I came up with the almost exact same sentence for me to keep in my mind. Like, what are you trying to do with this house sale? What are you trying to accomplish?
Before we leave here, I'm going to give, and by the way, I'm giving you the background and the theory right now, and I know I'm dragging it out,
No.
but by the time I get done, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 sentences to do all of this, and it happens in minutes.
Yeah.
Okay? So what is that? What is it that really makes them feel good? If they could get everything they wanted, not what they needed, everything that they wanted, right? Everything they wanted, what would that be? Now, if you remember many, many podcasts ago, probably 100 podcasts ago, I talked about this. Like, suppose you were in the wilderness and it's the 1800s and you got wagons and horses and you got your family, right? And you probably saw this in a movie. And you cross the river. The river is kind of wild river. And you're on one side of the river and your family or other people are on the other side of the river. How are you going to get them across that river? And the best way is to go back to where they are and help them build a bridge or go through the river with them, holding their hand. Right? This is how you have to treat your seller. You have to go to the other side of the river and you have to coax them through the river or build a bridge with them to get over the river. Because if you don't do that, you won't make enough deals. You'll lose deals. This is showing them how you care, not what you know. Right? The seller's mostly concerned and interested in themselves and their family. How do I know that? Just what you said. The guy's asking $100,000 for $80,000 for his property because everybody else sold it for $100,000, but he hasn't sold it in 6 months. He's not thinking about the buyer. Where's the buyer going to get the $80,000? And is that $80,000 worth giving up $80,000? Is the house worth $80,000? The only reason why somebody gives their hard-earned money is because they feel like whatever you have is more valuable to them than their money. Did you get that?
Sure.
What did I just say?
The only reason a person gives you their hard-earned money is because they think what they're getting from the other guy is more valuable than their money.
Right. So are you creating that value?
Not if they're not buying.
So if you're not closing deals, then you're not presenting that value. And I'm going to tell you the fastest, quickest way to build that value is a shortcut. It's a hack. Just care. It's not what you know. They don't want to know what you know until they know you care. Right? So I would venture to say that a vast majority of deals not getting made is because you're too far into the business aspect of it, not into the emotional aspect of it. Right? Now, get this. This is very important because this is new for me. I've just figured something out after, because I'm on stage all the time, right? I'm in coaching groups and I'm on stage and I write books and I write, right? Here's what I learned.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you about it. So what you should do. So your job, Peter, is to sell people on your proposal or idea, your concepts. Not sell your proposal or concepts to people. So your job is to sell people on your proposal, on your offer, not sell your offer or proposal to people. How do you do that? You care. If I was you, how many times have you heard me say this? If, I don't know how I can help you, but if it was my deal, here's what I would do. How many times have you heard me say that in a coaching group?
Well, that's what you do, because you're not trying to tell us what we should do. You're trying to show us how you might do it. Then we'd have to look at it ourselves and decide how we would apply that.
That's exactly what this means. Your job is to sell people on your proposal, not sell your proposal to people.
Yeah, you can't tell somebody you should do this, because if you push, they pull away. You can't tell
somebody what to do. It doesn't work. They have to think it themselves.
Yeah.
Right? You need to agree to do a deal. This is huge, 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 huge. Oh my God, it's so big, but so subtle. You need to agree to do a deal, not disagree and fight the deal. Like, for example, and I'm not saying what you did was wrong because you're far into the deal, but the guy says his house is worth 80,000, and you argue with him and saying, well, if it was worth 80,000, then how come you haven't sold it? Right? So you have to agree, which I know you have already, and I'm not picking on you on this deal, so please don't take that. It's just as an example.
I needed to do that to get it out of my system for my benefit, because I don't think the guy is cooperative in any way, because it's been so many months. He just never cooperative. So it just felt good to just like put the truth out there, and I can code it much nicer. I can do that because you get an idea, but then you have to say it in a way that's more acceptable. But I was at the point where I just want to say what I wanted to say. I'll figure out how to say it better next time to somebody who deserves it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, because the come to Jesus talk is sometimes you have to release that person from your mind, because otherwise that person will infect other deals.
Yeah.
You have to get rid of that poison, right? Or that idiot, right? Like my ex-father-in-law, God bless him, because he's not with us anymore, used to say, Bill, don't let an asshole ruin your day. Right? And that's what he meant, is don't let this conversation infect your other business for the day. Right? So the point is that you have to agree. So you could say, okay, well, here's the thing. 80,000's a bit much, but I can pay it, and here's how it works. And then you structure the deal. I got to give you interest-free payments or principal-only payments for the next 10 years. That's the only way I could do it. Right? It's better than fighting them. And this is what happens with so many coaching clients. They want to argue the fact or persist on or be right about the price. And the truth of the matter is in creative real estate, the price does not matter. Right? Because you're not paying $80,000 for this property. You're not giving the guy a check for $80,000 and risking money. You're probably going to give this guy no money or $100 for a slot deal, and you've got invested $100. So if you made $3,000 or $2,000 or $1,000 by finding a buyer for this guy, you 10x, 20x, 30x your money for not a lot of work. So why are you fighting this guy with money? So the best way to adjust somebody on price is sign an option agreement for 90 days and say, let's bring it to the market and see what they say. And then at that point, you can accumulate evidence from conversations that buyers have had with you and say, I spoke to this guy, I spoke to this girl, and it can change. But don't argue or disagree, right? Now, I can do that, and you can do that because we've done a lot of deals, and we're a little bit picky about the deals we want. But when you're first starting, you should take every deal, even if you make $5, because the amount of money that you're going to make, right, in education is just phenomenal, right? This is the reason why I called my book the title that it's called, right? So how to learn, it's not loading, how to learn to do, I'm just not on my computer here, right? How to learn how to do creative real estate deals while you do them, right? That's more important than the money.
Yep.
Right? So you need to agree to do a deal, not disagree and fight with the deal. This is the reason why I have devised my 7 different strategies, right? So you have an offer that fits any type of idea a seller might have about the transaction. You can use any one of the deals to plug it in and use the formulas and give an offer. Does that make sense?
Right, because the only reason you're saying you can't do a particular deal is because you're thinking of one way to do it that would not work.
Right.
So don't do that one, but look for the one that would work.
So
And if you only have one or two in
hang on,
mind,
hang on. You're 100% correct, but I want to
Mhm.
back up
Mhm.
because what's happening is you're thinking of the deal as if it was money.
Mhm.
It's not money.
Mhm.
The $80,000 is not money,
Mhm.
right? So what you're thinking is if I pay 80,000 for this, if I can't ask 85,000, nobody would give it to me.
Mhm.
So what you're thinking is there's no profit there. So what you need to do is restructure the deal in your mind to think, how could I make money off of this?
Right.
I have this seller in front of me willing to do a deal. How can I make it so he gets what he wants and I make some money? Because that's the only reason why you want to do this.
Mhm. But this is where you would need to know what he's trying to accomplish.
Right.
And the deal has to be the type of deal that'll do that. I mean, I talked to somebody, they needed $30,000 for surgery next week for cancer. They didn't have insurance. They couldn't wait 3 years to make money. It wasn't about
Right.
that at all. They were just looking for, a solution for that. So
You know why people negotiate money?
why they do?
Yeah. Why people negotiate money so much?
Because it's the easy, obvious thing in front of them to talk about.
It's the universal way to do things that people know. They don't know enough about the deal. They don't know enough about the other choices and the other ways they can do it that they can negotiate those other things. Like you go into a car dealership and say, you say, I don't want to pay $30,000 for that car. I want to pay 25 grand. First thing they ask you is, are you financing it?
Mm.
Why is that? Because you're
Yeah.
throwing the signal off that you have $25,000 in cash. You're going to slap down on the table right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because the salesman knows, well, why are they doing this? They must have cash. Because otherwise, they wouldn't negotiate the price. They would negotiate how much money to put down and how much the payments are each month and how long I got to go for a term.
Yeah.
And a savvy buyer would know they can negotiate those points.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They don't know. So they go in and say, I want to give you $25,000 for this $30,000 car. First thing they say is, do you want to finance? Because it's a trigger for the salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All right. Let's dive deep and talk about how I've made so many deals myself and with my clients. You ready?
Sure.
And for the sake of explanation, I have come up with a new name for this, Peter. And this came after my rant. It wasn't a rant, my dissertation that took me 45 minutes on a coaching call on Monday night.
Uh-huh.
I was trying to explain a concept and feel like I failed. I feel like I bored you guys. So I woke up on Tuesday morning and thought, you know what? That's a mechanism. That's a mechanism that I use that most others don't use. So I have to name that mechanism so that we can talk about it. And here's the name of the mechanism. The deal trigger. It really, I went back and forth. Do I call it the deal trigger or the deal tripwire? Because it's at the point where the deal shifts. And this means that it's at a point where the seller's mind becomes flexible and starts to understand your ideas. Right?
Yeah.
You're an idea man at this point. So this is what I'm trying to tell you earlier is you're proposing ideas. Like that's what I do here. This podcast is you guys listening to my ideas.
Sure.
My books are about my ideas. And you like them or you don't like them, which is the reason why you come or don't come.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about ideas. The deal trigger is when it goes from, that's a good idea, and goes into the details of that idea. In other words, you found the reason why they're selling, and you can push on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I put here the deal trigger is the exact situation that is motivating the seller to act now. Now, I broke down situation because situation has a few definitions,
Okay.
a few meanings, right? So one is a relative position or combination of circumstances at a certain time. So a situation is a relative position or combination of circumstances at a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they're in this situation because.
Yeah.
Okay. The second definition is a state of affairs one finds himself in, or a state of affairs that was inflicted upon them.
Mm.
I lost my job and now I'm in foreclosure.
Sure.
Right? Now, if we combine these together and use them the way I'm going to talk about them, we're going to say that a good definition or a good description of the deal trigger is you need to first find out from the seller what do they think will fix their life. Right? Now this is a little bit complex, so please stick with me. This is why I have so much trouble teaching this, because it's a very abstract idea. So we're looking, we're looking for a situation, some outpoints, some things that the seller is trying to fix their life with.
Right.
So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to find out what do they think will fix their life.
Well, don't you need to know what's wrong first?
Nope. This is why I'm trying to tell you it's backwards. This is why you're not making deals. So now listen to me. Just hang on just another 5 minutes and it will make total sense to you, right? Because you don't. This is what happens with people when I tell them, what's the situation? What's the why? What's the ruin? And they don't know how to tell me what it is because they're doing it backwards. Right? So first you have to find out from the seller, what do they think will fix their life? What we could call this is an ideal scene or a wanted outcome for their actions. Kind of like their goal and their purpose mixed together, right? That's causing them to act this way currently.
Right. I was thinking, what's the goal with this house sale? Like, what are they trying to accomplish? Yeah, the goal, because we've talked about that in other things too. The goal.
So, what do they think will fix their life? In other words, they feel their life is broken. Yep. The reason why they feel their life is broken is because they don't have this thing.
Yep.
So the obvious thing that 99% of all rookies and pros don't think about or don't observe is the seller does not have this exact thing they think will fix their life.
Like they don't have it figured out either?
This is the old marketing story, right? Guy comes into a department store and says, I want a drill. Right? And the guy says, what do you mean? I want a drill. Well, a drill, and what size bit? And he tells him what size bit, right? And the hardware attendant says, okay, that's good, but I can't sell you the drill. What do you mean? Well, because really what you want is a hole. What are you going to do with the hole? So you don't want the drill, you don't want the bit, you want the hole. That's what the drill and the bit are going to make, is the hole. What are you drilling a hole for? Right? This is what we want to do. So here is the trick. So once we find out the exact thing that they think will fix their life, we now need to figure out what's the departure from that exact point in their life. So how far off are they? Are they 2 steps away? Are they 10 steps away? Are they off in Mars somewhere? Right? In other words, where is the deviation from that will fix their life, right? Their ideas or their traditional course of action is not satisfied for them. I'm going to tell you right now, Peter, This is something that is huge in my world, and it's become huger recently. I put people around me. This is since the election.
Uh-huh.
This is what I learned. What is your philosophy in life? What is Steve's philosophy, or Jay's philosophy, or Gail's philosophy, or Joe's philosophy? What do they think? How do they think? Right? What philosophy do they use? When I mean philosophy, it's like, what do they think about? What's important to them? What do they use for data? What do they think about? Right? So this is what you're doing is you're testing the seller's philosophy. Like your guy, well, everybody else around here sold their house for 80,000 for 100, so I want to get 80, and you can't shake that philosophy.
Yeah.
So you want to whack them, get rid of them.
Yep.
Right? In other words, there is a deviation from his philosophy. I'm sorry. There's a deviation from what he thinks will fix his life, and that philosophy is what's holding him back.
Right, because that doesn't connect to the real world around him, the actual market, what people are really willing to do.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
There's some out point, which I'm going to go over in a minute. So this house now this is important. This house severely let them down. And probably started to ruin their life or some portion of their life. And it's annoying to them. Or now pay attention to this. That's what we call need, right? Or if it's greed, something else is going on in their life that has nothing to do with this house, but they need the money trapped inside the house, aka the equity, to fix that other thing, stopping them from the life they desire.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know I'm being very profound and I'm being very, very, very deep here, and I'm going to come out of this in about 2 minutes. But Peter, honest to God, the most simplest way I could put this is every human being on planet Earth is in some sort of a transformation. They're trying to transform from something. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to make more money. I want to see my children more. I want to buy a new house. There's so many goals. A goal or what they think will fix their life is where they want to be. This is the reason why stories are so important to human beings, because a core strategy of ours is transformation. Nothing stays the same. It's either growing or shrinking. Those are transformations. This world is made of, planet Earth is made of electricity. It's constantly moving. Positive to negative, negative to positive. Our cells are that way. Our molecules are that way. Our money's that way. Everything. The difference between my desk that's hard is because the idea of a desk reduced down to a solid figure. Instead of being up here where it's an idea and it's free and it's moving around and it's in my mind, it got reduced down to cells and molecules, which is an idea. But the point is everything is being transformed. So your seller has a transformation. Did you get in that conversation in his head to figure out what that transformation is and be able to help them do that? Or are you trying to shortcut it by telling them that this is the math you can do and you should do this deal? You haven't created value by showing them that you care first. What you're trying to do is you're trying to show them that you know before you care. It's backwards. You got to show them that you care, then show you. So when you're showing them that you care, you're going to find out what do they think will fix their life. And then you have to take a look at the departures, like, okay, what's stopping you from getting that?
So the way we're doing it is we're giving them the solution before we know the problem. Okay.
right? Now comes the tricky part. While the seller is talking to you, you have to listen closely, very, very closely. You have to observe what they're saying. You have to observe this. This is why I tell you that you have to make your phone calls from a desk. You don't do it while you're in the car or on the fly. This is the reason why you don't answer phone calls, because you need to put this person into a therapy session. And it has to be quiet, and you have to pay attention as the therapist. And what you're looking for is an oddity of any kind. Something that doesn't make sense. Like, for example, I want to get $80,000 for this house, but I've been trying to sell it for a year.
Yep.
Right? That's a contrary fact. Contrary fact means two facts that pose as truths. I want to get 80,000 and that it's been on the market for a year. They're two facts that don't go together. It's an oddity. There's something strange about it. And you need to figure out why that is. Right? So now the seller is going to vomit a whole bunch of stuff on you. Right? Now remember this. This is very, very important. Remember, if this seller knew the answer to what they think will fix their life, they would have done it already. They wouldn't be talking to you right now. Because the definition of solution means problem goes away. Problem has not gone away for them. They're looking for a different solution. So they may need help locating the most major departure or deviation or withdrawal holding them back. They haven't noticed it. Like an alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic. I only drink every couple of days. They haven't admitted they're an alcoholic. They haven't admitted, which, by the way, means they have not confronted it. And any problem you have, or I have, anybody has, is because of one reason, only one reason. It's because you haven't confronted it. And confront means face to face, head on, direct, right at it. And these people are not confronting the real reason, like the house is really not worth 80,000. Right? This is a deal trigger. Until you figure out what I just told you for the last 10 minutes, this is a deal trigger.
Yep.
This is the difference between being a multimillionaire and being a rookie that hasn't done a deal for 3 years. Only reason. Because you're not digging in. You're not getting past the social veneer. You're letting the answers the sellers giving you, and buyers, be factual and true. When they're just complaining and they're misdirectors. Like we spoke of last week. And they don't even know they're doing it. This is why I say all sellers are liars, because they don't even know they're doing it. Because I'm going to tell you, here's the deal. In my own language, excuse me. The only way you can do anything in this world as a human being, the only way you can do anything in this world and be successful is to know the ideal scene, the exact bullseye, the exact position you want to be in, the exact goal you want, the exact purpose for having that goal. And knowing it so clear in your mind, as Maxwell Maltz said in Psycho-Cybernetics, the theater in your mind is so clear that there is no deviation. I'm going to tell you something, Peter. This is a very personal thing. You don't know this. I changed. Well, you know that I changed my life because you see it happening.
Yeah.
You want to know the main thing that I changed?
What?
I no longer talk about expectancy. I mean, I no longer talk about, I just leaked it out. I no longer talk about affirmations and I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. What I do is I state it. I state my, what I call postulates, or a postulate is like, they're better than affirmations. A postulate is yes, it's here and it's done. And no matter what, I now play the game of expectancy. I put it there. I know it's going to happen. I believe in it, and it's just the way it is. There is no deviation, and I'm just sitting back saying, "Okay, I'm expecting it. When is it going to come? Not when is it going to come. It's more like, okay, I'm just expecting it, so I'll just look out for it." So it's the law of expectancy.
I like that.
When you're talking to a seller, you got to have the law of expectancy. You know this. All you need to do is care for the person. Then once you find out what it is that they want, that's would fix their life forever, look for the departure from that. Like, why aren't they getting that? There's some reason they're not getting that. What is it?
Hmm.
And then help them get it. All right, so we're going to do this to finish up because we're going to be a little bit late today. So here's what makes the deal. One, you need to know the seller's ideal scene or what was most wanted. And two, know the deal trigger or the departure and deviation from the seller wanting number one from the ideal scene. I just told you that. Now here's what happens. You circle the wagons around this deal trigger and don't let it go until you have a deal. This deal trigger should take you less than 10 minutes to figure out on the phone. The difference between a person that has to talk to someone for months and weeks and years and someone that could do a deal in a half an hour is how good they are at finding the deal trigger. How quick can they find it? Now, let me show you how easily this could be by talking to the seller. You ready?
Sure.
You ask one of two questions. You've heard these questions before. You're just not using them properly. If I had a magic wand and waved it over this deal, what would you want out of it? If I had a magic wand and waved it over your deal, what would you want out of it? Does that just tell you exactly how they want to fix their life? That tells you their ideal scene. That tells you where they're trying to go. That tells you what they're. In other words, you know how you have a good goal or an ideal scene or a good purpose. Do you know how you know that? Because when you hit it, it ends. Journey over.
Mm.
So if you have a goal to make $1 million, when you have $1 million in the bank or in cash, journey over. New goal. So how do you make this journey end for this seller? You first have to ask them, if I had a magic wand and waved it over your deal, what would you want to get out of it?
And you're not looking for a money number because they might I mean they could say just a number, really high number, and that might not tell you what they're really trying to accomplish with it.
Don't worry, I'm going to cover that.
Right? Okay.
The second question is, you're never going to guess what I'm going to say, are you, Peter?
No, I've given up on trying to guess what you're going to come up with.
What would have to happen for me to make a deal with you today?
Yeah.
So you use one of those two questions. What would have to happen for me to make a deal with you today? Now, once they answer either one of those questions, you're going to follow up with this. You ready?
Yep.
What do you think is holding you back from getting $80,000? What do you think is holding you back from closing within 30 days? What do you think is holding you back from whatever they said in one of in one of those two questions?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You just figured out what their departure is. So pay attention to this. By circling the wagon means to just keep talking about their ideal scene in the departure and don't let go of it. Just keep talking about, here's how you're going to get blah, blah, blah. And the reason why you're not getting it is because blah, blah, blah. And you just keep talking about it and keep smushing it in their face until they get it. here's my final thought on this. When they tell you what they're trying to fix and why it's not working, you need to test your deal trigger with a transformation element. And what that means to us is you will need to notice that the seller is trying to be flexible and listening to your ideas or offers and proposals. They went from being resistive to engaging. They're actually helping you figure out the solution. You're now on the other side of the river, helping them build the bridge, coming back. Because you cared first and your knowledge was second, instead of your knowledge first and your care second. You got to reverse those two things. You got to care about them first.
Because when they come up with something, it's not always, you said before, they don't really know what's wrong. So whatever they tell you, it might not be correct. So you have to keep going over till you help them find the real solution. Because if it was right,
solution equals problem goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, their solution may not always be you. Right? They need money for taxes, otherwise they're going to foreclose. They need $10,000 for taxes. Well, how about if I help you go get you owe like $50,000 on a $300,000 piece of property. Why don't I get my mortgage guy to help you get a second mortgage?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we refinance it and I'll help you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And 90% of the time they won't go through it. You'll end up buying the house. All right. So here, one of two things is going to happen now once you've done this.
Mm-hmm.
One, the seller will have a dramatic change in attitude, or a way of being towards you in this transaction. The transformation is happening. Two, the seller will not have any change or attitude or way of being with you. One of two things has happened. They're either going to convert or they're not. Now we're at what no one does or tries to do. On number one, you talk about the offer strategy at the time until one feels comfortable to the seller or resonates with the seller. So if they owe $300,000 and it's worth $300,000, you talk about a slot deal, nothing else.
Sure.
Okay. Now pay attention to this, because this is the most vitalist part of the podcast. If they don't transform, if they don't get a transformation, if they don't have a change in attitude, you need to circle the wagons again on their ideal scene and why they're not getting what they want with questions like this. So in other words, you either have the wrong deal trigger or they're not fully thinking about it. You with me?
No. I can get the part where you have the wrong thing and you got to go back and help them find the right thing. But what do you mean they're not thinking about it?
So let me give you the next three questions. Like this. What will you do if you don't strike a deal with me today?
Right.
They haven't thought about that. What will you do if you don't strike a deal with me today? You're still mushing it in their face. Not derogatorily. They need to go through this. They're in therapy. They need to confront this.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing the right things to get what they want, and they're unhappy, and it's your job to turn them around. Question number two. How do you think that about this decision will affect your family and those around you. By not taking 80 grand today and holding on to this house for another year, how do you think that's going to affect your family or your wife or your kids around you or the people you live with? How's that going to affect you? What you're doing is you're changing their awareness to the problem. It's not just them anymore. And the quicker you can take the problem off of them and present it like, well, they're causing pain to their children or causing pain to their wife or causing pain to their neighbor or whatever, because people will adjust quicker when they know that they're affecting others.
Yep.
So that question again is, how do you think that decision will affect your family or those around you? And the last question is, how long are you willing to keep living with this, trying to sell this house? I'm going to say it again because I didn't say it right. How long are you willing to keep living with trying to sell this house the way you're trying to sell it? How long are you willing to keep living with trying to sell this house this way?
Yeah, whatever they're doing.
Those three questions will close you more deals than anything else, but you got to do it in the right time. You got to do it after we did all the other stuff, right? And lastly, if none of this works, now you miss the true or real situation or ruin and what is crushing this emotion, crushing the seller emotionally. And if they're still not turning around and they're still being an asshole, we'll say, right? And you get to this point, here's what you do. Look, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm just looking to help you and your family with this house, so you get exactly what you want and can move on. So please tell me how I could do that, or how someone can do that for you.
Yep.
I'll read that again. Look, this is last-ditch effort. Look, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm just looking to help you and your family with this house, so you get exactly what you want and can move on. So please tell me, how can I do that? Or someone can do that for you. What would have to happen? And then try to help them mentally walk away from this deal you're trying to do and take any neediness you had on the deal off the table and just go for karma, because you know karma is the biggest way to make deals. Right? So take any neediness off of it and just get in personal communication with them and see if there is any way to salvage the deal by helping them. Now, I'm going to make a statement that you're not going to like. If you do this correctly, it should take you between 10 and 15 minutes, no more than 30 minutes on the phone with the seller. If you do this, what I'm telling you, quickly. And a professional dealologist that's using deal triggers correctly will do this quickly and not spend a lot of time chasing people that don't want to do deals, that are misdirecting them and telling them untruths and not confronting their own problem, their own situation, their own environment, and they're sucking you into their life and you're allowing it. They're sucking you into their drama and their hot mess, and you're allowing it. You're begging for deals if you don't do this. It's the only way to pierce their social veneer and find out what's really going on, right? social veneer, like, the guy's at a party, right? And he's
Mhm.
being all Mr. Social, and he's just a good guy. But you find out from his wife that he's really a jerk.
Mhm.
He hits her and he knocks her out. He doesn't pay her. He's got 3 girlfriends, and but he doesn't act that way at the party,
Mhm.
right? Oh, by the way, if you want to practice social veneer, if you want to practice how to see a social veneer and where somebody's pretending, I'm going to tell you how to do this. Okay,
Yep.
watch TV.
I was going to say, watch the news.
Every person on TV is scripted. Every person on TV is acting. Every person on TV that you see is not really being themselves. They're being somebody else or something else. And in fact, since 1950, the world has trained us on how to do that and has affected the world, which is the reason why we have these protests and these people that are doing the oddest things in the world. Because they have been taught by a television and actors. They have been brought up in a fake world of not truths. And they're influenced by the actor or the actress on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on what channel they watch on how they're getting influenced.
Yep.
All right. So there's no other reason not to make deals other than what I just told you today. Does it take practice? Yeah. Is it an advanced strategy? Well, I don't know. It depends. If you practice it with 5 or 10 sellers, it won't be advanced to you anymore. You're not digging in. You're not finding the true data. There's something missing, and you're not getting it. Okay? So hopefully that helped our listeners. I know I went a little bit more time than I should have, but I think this is very good. I'm going to get my coaching clients to listen to this, and hopefully they will listen, and it will help them.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope I know it's a bit profound for a rookie podcast, but I just decided to go for it because I wanted to get it sorted out in my head, because I don't know how I'm going to do this yet, Peter. But as soon as I get this book that I have now published, which will be within the next few weeks, my next book is going to be just about this: how to close sellers. I want to go into it deep, and I want to go into scripting and how you could close sellers. It's going to be more of a I got to come up with a language for it. It's going to be a professional closer.
Mm-hmm.
And how you do that and the steps to do that. And I haven't sorted it all out in my head, but now that I have the idea in my mind, I will start working on that, because that'll be my next book. Thank you for listening to us today. Make sure you subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Make sure you leave us some sort of a review. If you want to take a snapshot and it's a 5-star review, send it to flippinghousesforrookies.com at gmail.com. flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com, and I will compensate you. I'm not trying to bribe you. I'm just trying to ethically bribe you. And don't forget to check in your description. Our new newsletter is out called Creative Real Estate Dealology at .com. That link is actually in the description of today's podcast. So if you don't remember it, you can go back to the podcast and you could push on that link, and it'll bring you right to the sales page. Not sales page, to the newsletter page. The newsletter is for free. It comes out on Saturday mornings, and I have expectations of changing your life with deal structuring with creative real estate. Over and out. Thank you for your support, and flourish and prosper until the next podcast, which is number 450. Have a good week.